Hi, everyone, and welcome back to English for You. I'm Erin.
And I'm Elsie.
Okay, over the past couple of days, we've told you the story of the monkey's paw.
This story was about a family who was given the power to make some wishes.
However, before they made their wishes, they were warned that the wishes wouldn't bring anything good.
They didn't listen to the warning, though. Instead, they wished for some money.
That's right. But what happened after that? Later, the couple's son died, and they were given some money after his death.
Their wish did come true, but something bad happened too. Just like they'd been warned, right?
That's right. And unfortunately, they didn't really learn their lesson.
The couple made a second wish to bring their son back to life.
However, to stop something really awful from happening after that second wish, Mr. White made a third wish, and nothing happened.
The author doesn't tell us what happens at the end of the story.
That's right. Now, today, we're going to talk about why he didn't tell us the end and other meanings you can find in this story. So let's get started.
Reading.
The Monkey's Paw. W. Jacobs's short story, The Monkey's Paw, has a clear message. Be careful what you wish for, because you might receive it. Even though the whites are satisfied with their comfortable life, they fall victim to temptation. With each wish they make, the whites' desires grow greater and greater in scale. However, the more they want, the worse the consequences get. With his story, Jacobs advises his readers to accept and appreciate their lives with grace and dignity. Jacobs uses the monkey's paw to show that only negative things will come from trying to cheat fate. He also avoids telling readers what was knocking on the white's door. This encourages readers to use their imaginations and interpret the story's meaning for themselves. Another question that comes up in the story is the debate between fate and coincidence. If Mr. White had not wished for the money, would Herbert have come home alive? Since the story doesn't directly respond to this question, it leaves readers wondering if the whites really did change their fate. On the other hand, was Herbert's accident simply a poorly timed coincidence?
All right, the article today starts out by telling us who wrote the story and what is one clear meaning in it. So it says, W. Jacobs's short story, The Monkey's Paw, has a clear message. Be careful what you wish for because you might receive it.
Yeah, you might receive it, but at the same time, receive something else that's really bad.
That's right. So you might get your wish. Your wish might come true, but it might not be in the way you wanted it. It might not be, yeah, here's $200 and it's fine. Everything's great. Something bad might come with it too. And it goes on and says, even though the whites are satisfied with their comfortable life, they fall victim to temptation.
所以本来 Whites 一家人他们的生活是 OK 的，是舒服的，但是 temptation 诱惑来的时候没有办法抵挡，他们就 fall victim to temptation。Victim 这个字呢是受害者，那我们说 fall victim to something 代表的是因某事而受害。The whites fall victim to temptation.
So, they didn't really need that money. They could have made that money just by working and doing everything normal, and they had a comfortable life and they were happy. But as soon as someone says, oh, I can give you a wish, they say, why
not?
Oh, maybe I could have more. So that's what happened. And it says here, with each wish they make, the white's desires grow greater and greater in scale. Now, what we're saying here is that something is growing greater in scale. Scale is a noun, and we use it to talk about the size, amount, or level of something. Now, when you say something gets greater and greater in scale, you're saying that this thing is getting bigger and bigger or more and more. Now, of course, the opposite, something that's small in scale, is not very big. Or if it gets smaller in scale, it grows smaller and smaller. So, as another example, we might say, the scale of this problem is a lot bigger than I can handle on my own.Scale
这个名词呢是规模或是程度，那它可以指的是量重量的磅秤。那文章中提到的 desire 它是欲望，随着每一个愿望呢，他们这一家人的欲望也越来越大。They totally forgot about Maurice's warning.
Right. And so, he said all of these things were going to get bad, or bad things were going to happen, and then one bad thing happened, and then we can imagine that something even worse was about to happen. It says here, however, the more they want, the worse the consequences get.
Wow, the more they want, 他们要的越多 the worse the consequences get, 后果就越来越糟糕。Consequence 这个字就是后果的意思啦。
Okay, so, consequences are bad things, and they're getting worse and worse and worse here on an even bigger scale.Now, what Jacobs is doing here, it says, with his story, Jacobs advises his readers to accept and appreciate their lives with grace and dignity. Okay, so Jacobs is advising people of something. Now, when you advise somebody, this verb means you give them advice about what they should do, or you tell them what you think they should do.Now, this often happens when you know a lot about something and you are trying to help someone who doesn't know a lot about that thing. Here's an example. The lawyer advised her client not to say anything to the police.
Advise 这个动词呢是建议的意思。Advise somebody to do something 代表的是建议某人做某事。那名词也叫做 advice， 可是拼法不一样哦，它是拼 advice， 而且它是个不可数名词，所以如果你要跟人家要一则建议、一个建议的时候，你要用 a piece of 去数它 ，a piece of advice。那作者 Jacobs 他建议读者接受并感激他们的生活 with grace and dignity.
Right. So, don't just say, I need all the better things to make my life better. If you have a good life, if you're satisfied, then accept it and appreciate it and do it with grace and dignity.
Yeah, and be grateful.
Exactly. So grace, this noun, is a behavior or the way that a person acts, that it's a pleasant behavior, it's a polite behavior. Now, someone who has grace is always very nice to others and is a happy person to be around. They're very polite, they're a very pleasant person.As an example, we could say, the prince learned how to behave with grace and good manners when he was very young.
Grace 这个名词呢是优雅、优美。It can be a name too for a girl, right?
That's right, yeah.
它也可以当做一个女生的英文名字，代表那这个女生就是很优雅、优美。
Now, Jacobs advises people to accept and appreciate their lives with grace in a very pleasant way and that people will respect. But he also says to accept it with dignity.
Dignity 它是尊严的意思啊。So with dignity, people respect what you do and who you are.
That's right. So he's saying, be humble about your life. Be happy with your life. If it's a good life, just be satisfied with it and, just be a person that other people will respect, right?
And don't be greedy.
Exactly. That's another good thing. All right. So it says here, Jacobs uses the monkey's paw to show that only negative things will come from trying to cheat fate. Now, fate is here in this story or in this article, it's an unseen power that people believe controls what happens in their lives. So it means that they don't really think I control what happens in my life. Something out there is making these things happen. Now, as an example, we might say, do you believe in fate, or do you think you control what happens to you?
Fate 这个名词是命运。For me, I think I control what happens to me, but I'm not like the whites. I don't think I can get things for free where I can make wishes and get what I want. What do you think?
Well, I'm with you, Elsie.
Right?
There are different arguments on both sides, but I am usually of the mind that I think I control what happens in my life. I make these actions happen. So I don't really believe that fate controls my life, and I don't really try to cheat fate either. You know, if good things are going to happen to me, they are going to happen. But the whites might not have believed that. And it says here, he also avoids telling readers what was knocking on the white's door. Now, this is kind of what we talked about in day 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I really want to know what wish Mr. White makes and what's at the door. But I think the author, the author really wants us to think about it.
Right. So he's not really telling us the answer because he wants to discuss the fate of the whites and whether he thinks they're cheating it, whether he thinks they should make these wishes and that sort of thing. And it says here, this encourages readers to use their imaginations and interpret the story's meaning for themselves.
Interpret 这个动词呢是诠释的意思。那你诠释出来的话语，我们说那是你的 interpretation. And I think every person has a different interpretation of the story.
They probably do, and that's why this is such a good story to talk about, because there are so many different things that you can use your imagination for in this story. We don't know exactly what happened, and so we can talk about it and maybe think of this story in different ways ourselves.
Or maybe we can have a debate.
Exactly. Debates are always good things to happen in class because you learn how to make up different opinions of things. Now, we have another question we need to talk about in the story. It says here, another question that comes up in the story is the debate between fate and coincidence. Now, we use the phrase come up, and we use this phrase to talk about a subject. So if a subject or a piece of information comes up, people start talking about that subject or information. It means they weren't talking about it before, but now they are. Here's an example sentence. I was going to ask my boss for some time off, but the subject didn't come up in our meeting.
Come up 这个动词片语呢，它本身就是有被动的意思在哦，是被提及、被提出，所以不要再把它变成被动来用了，直接用主动用法就可以了。So another question comes up， 另外一个问题出现了，被提出了。What is the question?
So the question we're going to talk about now is the debate between fate and coincidence. Now, fate we've already talked about. That's like something else controlling your life, right?
Right.
Now we need to talk about coincidence.
所以我们刚刚说到的 fate 是命运。Coincidence 它是巧合 So it's fate or coincidence、事情的发生究竟是命运的安排还是巧合呢
Now this is a bit hard to understand. We're getting a little bit into philosophy here, right?
Yeah, 哲学的问题哲学问题 It's hard.
It is hard. So just so we're clear, we are just asking, did something make this happen to the whites, or is this just something that happened and it kind of just happened at the same time, but it makes them think that, right? It's just something random. All right, let's continue on in the article and ask the question. It says, if Mr. White had not wished for the money, would Herbert have come home alive?
Good question. 但我们在讨论之前呢，我们先来了解一下这个 grammar 文法的 与过去事实相反的假设语气到底该怎么用呢？它的句型啊是 if 加上第一个主词，再加上 had。那如果是否定的话呢，你在后面加个 not。接下来呢，你要加的是过去分词，逗号之后啊，再加上第二个主词，然后呢，有几个字让你选哦。Would, could, might, should 它们都有各个的意思，选好你要的之后再加上 have 以及一个过去分词。那文章说呢 If Mr. White had not wished for money, would Herbert have come home alive? 如果当时 Mr. White 没有许愿要钱的话，那 Herbert 会不会就可以继续活下去呢？那这边再给同学们几个例句哦。For example, we can also say if I had studied math more in high school, I might have become a math teacher. 如果当时我多读一些数学，那可能现在变成一位数学老师。再来，或者是我们可以说啊 If he had called her, she wouldn't have got married with another guy. 如果他当时有打电话给他，那他就不会嫁给另外一个男人了。所以记得哦，这是与过去事实相反的假设语气。
All right. Well, that is a tough question to get through, but we did get through it. So, would Herbert have died if Mr. White had not wished for the money? That is the question, but it says here, since the story doesn't directly respond to this question, it leaves readers wondering if the Whites really did change their fate. Now, what we're saying here is that the story didn't respond to the question. Respond is a verb, and when you respond to something, you answer that thing or react to it in some way. So what we're saying here is that Jacobs doesn't answer the question about the Whites' wish for money. He wants us to come up with our own response to the question. Now, response is the noun form. It's spelled R-E-S-P-O-N-S-E, response. Here's another example of respond as a verb. I'm sorry I didn't respond to your message earlier. I was working.
Respond 这个动词呢，就是回应或是反应的意思。那刚刚 Aaron 有提到的 response， 它是名词的形式哦。那因为故事呢没有直接对这个问题做回答，到底是 fate 还是 coincidence？ Readers are left to wonder。我们就留下读者纳闷，到底 The Whites 这家人是不是真的因为许愿而改变了一切，还是就算不许愿，事情也会发生呢？ This is very interesting.
So, what is the answer? So, the question is, maybe they really did change their fate. We don't know. How do we respond? But we could say here, on the other hand, was Herbert's accident simply a poorly timed coincidence?
Good question.
All right. So on the other hand, we use this phrase to show that we want to introduce some information that is very different or opposite to the information we said right before it. So right before we said maybe the Whites did make a wish and it did change the fate. But here, opposite to that, maybe we're just saying Herbert's accident was just an accident that happened at the same time they made a wish, So here's another example. I think Irene would do this job well. On the other hand, she was very late for her interview.
我们在文章的写作里头呢，有时候会看到我们会先用 on the one hand 一方面如何如何，那另外一方面又如何呢？我们可以用 on the other hand 来带出。So is the accident a coincidence?
That's right. Is the accident just an accident? Just happened at the same time as this. An accident is something bad that happens to something or somebody, but it does not happen on purpose. With an accident, something could break, it could get damaged, or it could be very hurt. Or, someone could even die. But this thing was not supposed to happen. Now, we often talk about car accidents. We don't want a car accident to happen. It's a bad thing. But sometimes it does. Okay? Or you could have an accident by falling down while walking on some ice. You didn't say, hey, I'm going to fall down on some ice today. How fun. But you did fall down on some ice. Maybe you hurt yourself. You didn't want to do that, but it happened. Here's another example. I didn't mean to break the lamp. It was an accident.Accident
就是事物啦，事故或是不幸的意外，像是刚刚提到的 car accidents 就是车祸。So the story really made me think a lot. I still don't know the answer.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I'm going to think about it some more. I think maybe, it's a story. Maybe something did show up at their door and Maybe it was Herbert.
Ooh.
Maybe it was more bad news.
Right.
Who knows? But,
okay.
All right. I don't usually believe in fate, so maybe I think it was just a poorly timed coincidence. But this is what you are supposed to think about. So you guys can think about that. We are going to finish off with today's For You chat, though.
For You
chat.All right, today's For You chat question. Do you think people should accept their lives or try to improve them, and why?
I think first we have to accept our lives and then we have to try to improve the lives.
So both.
Both.
Interesting answer. I tend to agree with you, Elsie. I am very happy with my life. I think I have a very good life, but...I am also trying to be a better person. I do want to improve. I want to learn more things. I want to help more people. Sometimes even if you live a good life, there are always ways that you can make it better, right?
Yes. So I don't think we should just accept our lives and think, oh, it's just my life, so
right,
it's okay.
Fine.
I'm not gonna try anymore.
Right.
That's bad.
Right. But there is a way that you can try to improve. Now,if you're trying to improve by buying a whole bunch of lottery tickets because you don't want to work hard and you just want to win money.
That's not gonna work.
That's not what we're saying here. We're saying you should still work hard. Every once in a while, if you want to buy a lottery ticket for fun, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's not how you should be improving your life. You should be working hard. You should be making things better on your own, and maybe good things will happen with that, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys can answer this question too. Maybe you don't agree with us. That's fine. Tell people why and tell people what you think about this. But we are all finished with the monkey paw story, so we are here to say goodbye. So for English for You, I'm Erin.
I'm Elsie. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
The Monkey's Paw. W. Jacobs's short story, The Monkey's Paw, has a clear message. Be careful what you wish for, because you might receive it. Even though the whites are satisfied with their comfortable life, they fall victim to temptation. With each wish they make, the whites' desires grow greater and greater in scale. However, the more they want, the worse the consequences get. With his story, Jacobs advises his readers to accept and appreciate their lives with grace and dignity. Jacobs uses the monkey's paw to show that only negative things will come from trying to cheat fate. He also avoids telling readers what was knocking on the white's door. This encourages readers to use their imaginations and interpret the story's meaning for themselves. Another question that comes up in the story is the debate between fate and coincidence. If Mr. White had not wished for the money, would Herbert have come home alive? Since the story doesn't directly respond to this question, it leaves readers wondering if the whites really did change their fate. On the other hand, was Herbert's accident simply a poorly timed coincidence?
Vocabulary Review.
Scale. The Americans were shocked when they realized the scale of the damage caused by the bomb. Advise. The teacher advised Lisa to discuss the group project with her classmates. Grace. Throughout her life, the princess always behaved with grace and was admired by everyone. Fate. Unlike China, people in Taiwan have the power to vote for their fate. Respond. The teacher asked Joe why he was late, but Joe didn't respond. Accident. Everyone in our class prayed for Iris after she got into a car accident.